communal flashpoint at Delhi's doorstep. Amidst the flames and rioting, India Today reporters fearless on ground.
एक्सक्लूसिव विजुअल की कैसे पत्थरबाजी इस समय यहाँ चल रही है, माहौल पूरा तनावपूर्ण हो चुका है.
Facts, questions and first-hand reports.
The charred vehicles that lie testimony to the kind of attack. Amount of arsoning that happened is proved from the visual that you right now see.
100% accuracy amidst the blaze.
Police officers are combing in the area and that is why the situation is under control.
We track the face of every story.
इन तमाम गाड़ियों को आग के हवाले कर दिया गया है. ग्राउंड जीरो से हम आपको ये रिपोर्ट दिखा रहे हैं.
This is the kind of situation you see on the ground in Gurugram.
India Today, India United.
Good evening. You're joining us live here on 6 p.m. Prime on India Today. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, and this evening we're putting the focus on what's happened in Haryana, what played out on July 31st and August 1st. We've gone through the entire details mentioned in the FIR based on the complaints of two witnesses, two policemen who were there at the spot, who were there to provide security for the yatra. So we'll tell you details of what's mentioned in the FIR and thereby try to answer questions of exactly who started the riot, of exactly who instigated the violence. First, as always, let's begin with the headlines. Death toll mounts to 6 in Haryana riots case. Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar vows to make rioters pay for damages, says no information on cow vigilante Manu Manesar's whereabouts. Haryana FIR reveals shocking details, says rioters mob chanted pro-Pakistani slogans and fired at cops. At least 116 people arrested so far. Mega India Today investigation impact. Haryana Home Minister Anil Vij tells India Today that Haryana Police will probe a special investigation which revealed lapses in Nuh. Another shot in the arm for the centre in Parliament after BJP and YSRCP. TDP may back Modi government on Delhi Services Bill and the no trust motion. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi counters Purnesh Modi on 2019 defamation cases. Process of law being abused to arm twist Rahul into an apology. And the United States charges former President Donald Trump with conspiracy to fraud the country and witness tampering in 2020 Capitol Hill riots case. Let's begin with breaking news that's coming in of Rahul Gandhi's rejoinder in the Supreme Court on Purnesh Modi's affidavit. This is in the defamation case that he faces, and Rahul Gandhi, in a rather aggressive response, has lashed out at Purnesh Modi, the one who filed that complaint first up against Rahul. After Purnesh Modi called Rahul Gandhi arrogant and a habitual offender, Rahul Gandhi has hit back in his rejoinder, saying that this kind of a comment, calling him arrogant, is nothing but slanderous. He also claimed that the process of law is being abused and that there are attempts right now to arm twist him into an apology. And with that rejoinder, it's clear that Rahul Gandhi has made it amply clear that he will not apologize at this stage as well, despite facing all of these legal hurdles in this case and even being disqualified as a member of parliament. Srishti Oja is joining us with more details on this. Srishti, good evening. Can you give us some of the highlights, details of what Rahul Gandhi really has said in his rejoinder?
Well, yes, Akshita, like you said, as we know, Rahul Gandhi has moved the top court of the country seeking a stay on his conviction in the defamation case. Responding to that plea, the original complainant in the matter, Purnesh Modi, had filed a reply where he had called Rahul Gandhi arrogant. Now Rahul Gandhi has filed another affidavit before the Supreme Court countering the submissions that were made by Purnesh Modi, and he's clearly stated that Purnesh Modi calling him arrogant is completely slanderous, especially because Rahul Gandhi has refused to apologize in this particular matter. Such slanderous terms cannot be used against him. What Rahul Gandhi has also said is that the complainant here, being Purnesh Modi, is in a way trying to twist Rahul Gandhi into apologizing. And if the same is being done, then that is a gross abuse of judicial process and should not be tolerated by the Supreme Court at all. He's also said that he's not a previous convict, and therefore he has an excellent chance of success before the Supreme Court for various reasons. One being that he has an exceptional case because the offence is a trivial offence and irreparable harm will be caused to him because he was an elected member of the parliament and then had to face disqualification. And the court will hear Rahul Gandhi's plea on 4th of August, which is when we'll know if any relief is expected for Rahul Gandhi.
So 2 days from now, 2 days from now is when that hearing will happen. But Srishti giving us details, and looks like from the rejoinder, Rahul Gandhi is sticking to the same legal strategy here of referring to the kind of punishment that's been granted to him and saying that, look, I am not someone with a criminal record. Purnesh Modi, the petitioner, however, has said that Rahul Gandhi is a habitual offender of making these kind of defamatory comments. And here on India Today, as we get you details of the latest ground reports on the situation in parts adjoining the national capital, in parts of Gurugram, on violence, on the aftermath of the tension that we've witnessed, we're also putting the focus on the FIR, the investigation that's underway to identify exactly what started this violence. Let me round you up on all the updates that have come in so far. India Today's open source investigation has revealed that the fire of hate was being fanned on social media. Bittu Bajrangi and Mohammed Samar. It was their social media posts, both of whose images you see on your screens, that raised temperatures to this terrifying degree. 6 people died as a result of their incendiary posts. Haryana Home Minister Anil Vij has taken note of India Today's sting operation that we aired last night that uncovered glaring lapses in Nuh by the BJP government. The Haryana government has taken over India Today's sting operation tapes and will initiate a probe into the clear lapses. Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar has vowed strict action against rioters and says the accused will be made to pay for all the damages caused so far. But also, when questioned about cow vigilante Monu Manesar, Khattar claims that the hunt for Monu is underway, but his whereabouts currently are unknown. What is the situation in Haryana's Nuh, which was gripped by all of this violence? At this point, there's still an uneasy tension for the 3rd consecutive day. Curfew, therefore, has been extended. 41 FIRs have been registered so far. 116 people arrested, 190 detained in Nuh district alone. Cow vigilante Monu Manesar is at the epicenter of this violence in Haryana, as there have been allegations against him of instigating it. Remember that this is a man who's accused in a lynching case. He's spoken to India Today and refuted allegations that he was present at the yatra in Haryana's Nuh. Monu has instead pinned the blame on a Congress MLA, accusing him of instigating the violence. At this point, he remains absconding. So let's now put the focus on the FIR, because that's really revealed what played out, what led to this kind of unprecedented violence on the streets of Haryana. Now, according to the police and according to the FIR, slogans like Pakistan Zindabad were being raised. Remember that we've had, in fact, during that yatra, according to the FIR, stone pelting, arson, vandalism Residents of police officials also being targeted. Now, as a result of all that we witnessed and the investigation taking place, Bajrang Dal and VHP workers took to the streets of Delhi and adjoining areas, blocking key national highways as well. So even as these protests, the politics continues, we ask one question, and it's the only question that really matters. Who's responsible right now for this deadly mess? Who's responsible for the death of 6 people?
Haryana simmers. Uneasy calm in Nuh. Parts of Gurugram burn. There's no sign of normalcy in the violence-hit zone, even 3 days after communal violence flared up.
अभी तक 116 लोगों को अरेस्ट किया गया है और 90 इसके अतिरिक्त और डिटेन किए गए हैं। पूछताछ करने के बाद उनके खिलाफ भी कार्रवाई जो बनेगी वो सब की जाएगी। सारा जो विषय आया है, इसके पीछे किसका हाथ है, कैसे शुरू हुआ, इन सब बातों के ऊपर भी प्रोसेस चल रही है। उस सारी प्रोसेस में कोई भी दोषी है उसको बख्शा नहीं जाएगा।
India Today accessed the FIR where many stinging revelations were made. Police say there were 800 to 900 people who chanted Pakistan Zindabad slogans while marching towards the Shiv temple. It's the same temple where 2,500 people were held hostage on 31st July. Police FIR mentions that the mob marched towards the yatra with sticks and guns, and petrol bombs were even hurled at the yatra.
नूह में 41 FIR है, उसमें 116 आदमी पकड़े गए हैं। इसके अलावा नूह में अभी 90 आदमी और भी हमने डिटेन किए हैं, उनसे भी हम पूछताछ कर रहे हैं उनका क्या इन्वॉल्वमेंट है, और जो संदिग्ध पाए जाएंगे उनके खिलाफ भी जो है उन्हें अरेस्ट किया जाएगा, उनके खिलाफ कानूनी कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
पुलिसकर्मी जो शोभा यात्रा में शामिल होते हैं वो एक के बाद एक भीड़ को रोकने के लिए हवाई फायरिंग शुरू कर देते हैं, लेकिन भीड़ रुकती नहीं है। लेकिन FIR में जो चौंकाने वाला खुलासा हुआ है वो खुलासा ये हुआ है कि ये जो खेत आप देख पा रहे हैं मंदिर के आसपास और ये जो पहाड़ी देख पा रहे हैं, इन पहाड़ी इलाकों से जो उपद्रवी हैं 600 से 700 के लगभग जो उपद्रवी थे वो पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद के नारे लगाते हुए अवैध हथियारों से फायरिंग करते हैं।
The Bajrang Dal and VHP workers upped the ante against communal violence that rocked Haryana. The Hindu group stormed the streets of the national capital, blocking key national highway connecting Haryana's Faridabad with Delhi.
Right there you can see in your visuals, these are Bajrang Dal Karyakartas, Vishwa Hindu Parishad Karyakartas who have blocked the Badarpur Toll Plaza, which is the connecting point between the national capital and Faridabad of Haryana. And right there you have the Bajrang Dal Karyakartas sloganeering, holding Bhagwa flags and sitting on the road, literally blocking the lane which heads towards the national capital.
ये सब बातें बहुत समय से मीडिया में आ रही थी, सोशल मीडिया में। उसका ध्यान क्यों नहीं दिया गया मैं नहीं जानता। पुलिस की तैयारी क्यों नहीं थी, इंटेलिजेंस का फेलियर है। हमको हरियाणा की सरकार ने वचन दिया है कि जो जिम्मेवार अधिकारी हैं वो भी बख्शे नहीं जाएंगे।
Not just Delhi, the Hindu group workers staged massive protests in Haryana's Panipat, Uttarakhand's Dehradun, and adjoining Noida was put on high alert. 6 people were killed in the violence that nobody foresaw. But who's at fault? Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's take this across to our reporters on the ground. Shreya Chatterjee is joining us live from Nuh. We've also got Amit Bharadwaj getting us latest updates from Manesar. Both of them have been on the ground for the last 48 hours, getting you every single update that you currently see on your screens. Shreya, I'd like to begin with you. Good evening. You're joining us from Nuh, where 2 days back things were extremely tense. And even today, I see behind you the prohibitory orders are still in place, which means that there's no sense of normalcy really that's still crept in.
Well, Well, absolutely so, Akshita. You know, there is no sense of normalcy at present in Nuh, despite the district collector actually suggesting for a, ease-off period, which was given between the 3 and 5 p.m. People could have opened shops, but we were here at Nuh. There was absolutely no sign of normalcy. People are not coming out from their residences. There is a sense of uneasiness that still prevails. We've seen RAF on the ground. There is riot control vehicles that are moving around. Area domination is still continuing. Remember, right now, the reason it is also a little uneasy is because the arrests have started happening. Till yesterday, the police was also trying to get off the visuals of the riots. They were taking away all the remnants of the cars that were set on blaze. But from yesterday late night, several arrests have taken place. Till last, we had an update of 116 arrests that have already taken place in Nuh itself. So clearly, the sense of uneasiness is still very much present. The law and order right now, if we talk about, is alert, and we have RAF on duty. There is extra additional forces that have also been brought in to ensure that if at all something spirals out of hand, there is well preparedness.
All right, Shreya, getting us that update from Nuh. I also want to bring in Amit Bharadwaj on this broadcast, who's joining us from Manesar. Amit, you've been tracking how there have been protests that have broken out since the violence, particularly from right-wing groups who've all objected to the riots, accusing the other side of triggering the violence. The question right now, however, is about one person. It's about cow vigilante Monu Manesar, someone who's a habitual offender and at this point remains absconding. Is there a concern that he is, in a sense, being shielded by the Haryana government? Because there have been multiple comments by the Haryana government, giving him the clean chit. We're not accusing him, we're not saying he's guilty, but at least find him and question him.
Absolutely right, Akshita. That is a big question that is hovering around that as to what was the role of Monu Manesar in this particular case. That needs to be investigated. And you have several comments coming from people who are in the power circle of Haryana, giving an indication, sort of a clean chit that he was not part of the procession which was taken out at Nuh. But on the other side, it remains a matter of fact that this person is an absconder. He is accused in a murder case of cow vigilante, and because of that, there's a lot of uneasiness on both sides as well. His role needs to be investigated, whether he had put several social media videos, social media posts appealing people to gather at Nuh. That needs to be investigated as well. And as Shreya was also mentioning about the uneasy calm that prevails right now in Nuh. Similar situation is in Manesar as well. In fact, the very temple where I'm standing, this is the spot where a Hindu Mahapanchayat of sorts was called after the kind of crackdown that is being carried out by the Haryana Police in connection with the Nuh violence. And the police convinced the organizers that because 144 has been imposed and action is being taken out right now, please vacate the area. Eventually, after several hours of conversation, the temple was vacated, but the uneasy calm remains here. Back to you, Akshita.
Very clearly. Amit and Shreya, thanks very much for joining us with those live updates from your respective locations on the situation currently. I want to run you through now what the FIR has said. We've read through the entire account that's been mentioned. There are two witness statements. The first one, and these are cops, by the way, the first statement comes in from a cop who was there on duty to provide security for the yatra. He says it started with Pakistan Zindabad slogans being raised outside the temple. We were passing by, the yatra was passing through the temple. 800 to 900 people, according to him, were chanting Pakistan Zindabad. This mob of around 700 to 800, that number keeps differing there if you look at the FIR, a mob of around 700 to 800 then attacked a police station. Rioters rammed into the wall of the police station, and according to him, they were armed to the teeth. He says that rioters had illegal arms with them and they fired without hesitating upon police officers. And let me highlight for you that these were cops in uniform. So they were undoubtedly being targeted there. The cop also goes on to talk about how these rioters vandalized private cars that were stationed at the police booth. They vandalized government vehicles as well, mostly setting it on fire. So that's one statement. Let's tell you about statement number 2, again from a cop, and you'll see that there's similarities here. Again, the cop says 700 to 800 people gathered and from above us started pelting stones at us. He then says that they were armed with illegal weapons, which they used to target us. He says that devotees of Lord Shiv, who were part of this yatra, which he was out to protect, he was there to guard that yatra, they were fired at by this mob of 700 to 800 people. And according to him, these devotees were in the temple and the mob started firing at them, which is when we received reports of several of these devotees being stuck in the temple. They were rescued later on. Now, this mob, according to the scope, 400 to 500 people gathered there and garroted this particular temple. And 40 pilgrims, as a result, were held hostage inside the temple. So he's given us details of that particular incident because he was there in that temple when it happened. Soon after, you had officials going in there and rescuing these 40 pilgrims. So from this FIR, it's clear as to exactly what happened. This is a yatra where, according to the Haryana government, they provided adequate security, but that was clearly missing, especially with all the hints that we've shown you here on India Today of the possibilities of this completely flaring out of control. As we get you the latest updates and ask questions of who's responsible for the Haryana violence, remember that 6 lives have been lost as a result of the rioting. And let's just for a second take time out to tell you who these 6 people were. And this includes, remember, 2 officials who were on duty. Neeraj, a home guard who was killed in the violence. Similarly, Gursev Singh also, who was on duty, a home guard, was killed by the mob. Now, a Bajrang Dal worker who was part of the yatra, identified as Abhishek, was also killed. A mason, Shakti, has also been killed, unfortunately, in the violence. There were 2 others, a cleric who was living in the area, a 19-year-old cleric reportedly was killed in the violence, Mohammed Saad, and the 6th victim, tragically, unfortunately, is yet to be identified by police officials who put out a number of statements and feelers asking for anyone to come forward if their loved ones are missing. We will continue to get you the latest ground reports and ask those questions of the Haryana administration. But that's all we have time for in this edition of 6 p.m. Prime. Thank you for tuning in.